everybody, my name is Griffin, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be starting a brand new series called Tactics 101. If you couldn't tell by the title, this episode is an introductory episode where we're going to talk about what the series is going to cover. We're also going to talk about creating your own team, and we're going to talk about the loadout that I'm going to be using for the entire series so that you have a baseline. Along with talking about my loadout, we're going to talk about a couple loadout decisions that you should always go with or you should never go with. Okay, so we're going to talk about our series and what it's going to entail. I'm hoping that these videos are going to be short and bite-sized so that you can gather that information more efficiently, not have to sit through me just rambling about random things. In this series, we're going to be using Tactical Assault VR as a platform, and that means that some things are going to carry over to other tactical games such as Onward or Pavlov, but things like Tactical Assault VR specific mechanics are not going to carry over, like the room breaching. It's not going to work. Although other things like managing your angles will definitely carry over to games like Onward, because that's a really important part of any tactical shooter. Now, I'm going to say this again. We're going to be covering everything from basic to advanced things. So if you're just a new beginner, this series is for you. If you've been playing this game for a while, or you've been playing VR for a while, this series is also for you, because we're going to cover some advanced things that I've picked up. And by the way, there are no enemies in here. I'm just breaching for fun. That's what I like to do. So keep a lookout for new episodes of this series, because we're going to be covering everything. Okay, now we're going to talk about team creation. So this is only if you have a small group of buddies that you play with all the time. You want to create an actual professional team, play with them, and make it feel a little bit more tactical. This is completely optional, and if you don't have that small group of buddies, skip past this to the next section. But if you do, here are a couple things that you're going to want to consider. First off, consider creating team roles, such as medic, or breacher, or entry team. Another thing that you should consider is standardized loadouts. This way, your teammates can get to know a certain gun until they get really proficient with it. That's it for team creation. We're moving on to our next subject, loadout creation. Now, creating your loadout is a very personal thing, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using this loadout in the entirety of the series, just so that you have a baseline to go off what I'm showing you. You don't have to use this loadout, but this is what I'm going to be using. Now we're going to talk about loadout utilities that you should never ever pick. Starting out with the spotter scope. This thing is basically useless in every mission because all missions are very close quarters. There is simulated bullet drop in this game, but you never see it because everything's too close together. This would be really helpful for the bullet drop, but there just isn't any. So never use it. It takes up a utility slot, and it isn't worth it. The next utility that you should never pick, and the last one, is smoke grenades. These things are basically useless unless you're in PvP. Even then, they're not very useful. It doesn't really inhibit enemies, so it's just taking up a slot for no reason. And it doesn't even last very long. I just threw that, and it's already starting to go out of it. And finally, for this video, here are utilities that you should always bring, starting off with stims. These things are super useful. I always bring 2 stims with me for both utilities. You use them again by popping off the cap, then sticking them into somebody, and they're just so helpful because if you've taken damage, then these can heal you, but they can also revive down teammates. Another really good utility to have is a frag grenade, because if I go over here and spawn a door, what you can do is you can open up a door, throw the grenade out, then close the door. No enemies will respond, and it'll blow the door open, most likely, and kill the enemies. Which is really helpful in a map where enemies have extra armor and do lots of damage. And yes, there are 2 enemy variants, one with more armor and one with less armor. Thanks so much for watching. This is the end of the video. Look out for episode 2. It's coming soon. If you're in the future, it's probably already out. It's going to teach you all about how to breach rooms if you don't already know. Again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.